If I would start on Substack today as a creator, coach, consultant, or expert who wants to grow an audience and monetize their knowledge, this is the exact roadmap I would follow to grow as fast as possible. My name is Sinem Günel. I've been writing online since 2018. My team and I have grown the Write Build Scale publication on Substack to over 45,000 subscribers and more than 1,500 paid members in less than 2 years. And we've helped thousands of creators build their publications, grow their audiences, and scale their income. And here's what I've learned. The people who grow the fastest on Substack right now are not the best writers. They are the ones who understand one thing that almost nobody talks about. Substack is not a newsletter platform anymore. It's not a blogging platform either. It is business infrastructure. It can be the strongest source of new leads, subscribers, and clients for the business you already have. If you treat Substack like a place to publish pretty articles, you basically risk growing painfully slowly. But if you treat it like a growth engine for your content and ideas, you will grow incredibly fast. So let's get into it. Here are the 6 things I would do in order if I had to grow a Substack from zero in 2026. The first thing I would do is to get crystal clear on what my publication is actually for. This is not about the brand name or a logo. It's about the actual purpose of your work. Why does this publication exist? Who is it for? And what do you want it to do for your life and your business 6 months from now? And I need to be upfront about something here because I learned this the hard way. When I started out as an entrepreneur years ago, I was multi-passionate. I wanted to serve everyone. I had 10 different ideas that all sounded exciting, and I tried to do all of them at the same time. I wrote about productivity, then about writing, then about business, then about mindset, relationships, depending on whatever felt interesting in that particular moment. And the truth is, nothing really took off. I was busy, I was productive, I was creating constantly, but the growth wasn't there and the income wasn't there because I was not focused and specific. The moment things actually started to change was the moment I allowed myself to be sharp. One audience, one clear message, one strong offer. That's when the right people started showing up, and that's when the business finally started to grow. And the same thing applies on Substack. It's just even faster and more important because Substack readers are making a quick decision within just a few seconds when they land on your publication page. They ask, is this for me? Yes or no? So if your positioning is fuzzy, the answer is usually a no. If your positioning is sharp, the answer will be a yes, and they will subscribe. So before you write a single post, I want you to sit down and answer 3 questions. What is my publication all about? Who exactly is it for? And what do I want this person to eventually do beyond just reading my free content? Your publication name and description should reflect those answers so clearly that the right reader recognizes themselves the moment they see your homepage. Get this right at the start and everything else becomes easier. Now, the second thing I would do is to treat my Substack homepage, the publication, like a landing page and not like an archive. Most creators set up their Substack once, they pick the default layout and they never touch it again. And then they wonder why people land on their publication and don't subscribe. And the truth is, your publication is doing real work in the background, whether you realize it or not, because it's the one thing people check out when they see your profile. It's basically the front door of your entire business on this platform, and a new reader is deciding within seconds whether to walk in or leave. So here's what I want you to focus on. You want a hero post at the top of your publication, which is the one piece of writing that introduces a new reader to who you are and what you do. Think of this as your strongest foot forward. If a stranger reads only one thing you've written, that's the one they should read. It can be your origin story, your most popular piece, or a clear breakdown of what you teach. But it has to do one job: make someone want to read more of your work. Then you want an about page that actually answers the question your visitor is silently asking themselves. They're not asking, who is this person? They're asking one question only: Is this publication worth subscribing to? Is it worth my time? So your about page needs to tell them what the publication is, who it's for, what they'll get out of it, and why you are the person to follow on this. It's not about your full life story, not every credential you've ever earned, just the things that will make them hit the subscribe button. And then you want a clear navigation bar, which is basically the menu of your publication. This guides your reader through your publication and lets them quickly find whatever they are looking for. When all three of those things are in place, a strong hero post, an about page that converts, and a clear navigation structure, your homepage, your publication, stops being a passive archive and starts working almost like a sales page of your free content. The third thing I would do is to lean into Substack Notes as the main discovery engine. And here's the thing, your Substack long form posts go to people who are already subscribed to your publication. These are your subscribers. They deepen the relationship, they build trust, they sell your offers over time. But if you are starting from scratch, you won't have people who are already following your work, so you won't have subscribers on the platform. You need new readers to find, and on Substack, Notes is where that can happen easily for new creators. Notes is the feed where strangers can find you. It's the front door for everyone who doesn't know that you exist yet and who is not familiar with your work yet. Now I know that you might be thinking that posting on Notes daily sounds like a second job, and if you treat it like one, it will be, but Notes is supposed to be easy. That's the entire point. You are already doing the heavy lifting when you write long form posts. You are thinking, you are researching, you are articulating your ideas, and that's the biggest value proposition you have. Notes is just how you redistribute that thinking, that same idea across the platform so more people can find it through more touch points. So let me show you how this actually works. Every time you publish a long form post, you can pull dozens of notes out of it. I usually aim for 50 so that I have a few dozen really good ones. Every strong sentence, every reframe, every insight, or every example you have in that article can be its own note. You can restack your own notes that already performed well, but you can even restack segments directly from your long form articles. And on top of that, AI tools can help you turn one post into dozens of notes ideas in a few minutes. In your voice, in your style, ready to schedule. When you set this up properly, you can show up on Notes multiple times a day without actually being on Substack all day long. Your notes are basically an extension of the work you're already doing because the thinking is already done. The notes are just the distribution. And here's the principle behind all of this. The creators who are growing the fastest on Substack are the ones who treat Notes as their discovery engine and their long form posts as their trust engine. Both of them matter, but if you are not posting on Notes consistently, the trust engine has nobody inside to actually build trust with. You need discovery, you need new subscribers, new readers, and then you need to build trust with them. Now, before we move on, I want to point you to something that goes deeper on the first two things we just discovered. We put together a free resource called the Substack Starter Kit, and one of the sections inside it walks you through exactly how to position your publication, how to find your goals, your audience, and the direction so that everything else on your Substack falls into place. That section alone will save you weeks of guesswork. The starter kit is completely free, the link is in the description, and you can grab it within just a few seconds. Now, the fourth thing I would do is lean heavily into collaborations. Collaborations are a massively underrated growth lever on Substack, and the reason is very simple. They put your work directly in front of audiences that already trust someone else. Cross recommendations, guest posts, Substack lives, restacks with your own comments. Each of these layers can get you in front of readers who might have never discovered you otherwise. But here's the part most Substackers get wrong, and I want to walk you through this carefully because this is exactly what I see on the receiving end every single week. The first thing you want to do if you want to collaborate is to show up where your future readers already are, before you ever ask anyone for an actual collaboration. Find the publications your ideal reader is already subscribed to, read their work, comment, be thoughtful, be engaged, and be genuinely interested in their work. If you are not interested in a collaboration partner, there's no point in actually reaching out for a collaboration. Try to learn more about their work for a while, with no agenda, before you ever send a single outreach message. The people running those publications will notice you. They will see your name, they know who you are by the time you reach their inbox. If you do this for long enough, the people who are running these publications will notice you. They will see your name, they will know who you are, and they will be more open to actually paying attention. And now here's the part where most people lose. When you finally do reach out to a bigger creator, you have to make the collaboration easy for them, and you have to lead with what is in it for them. Now let me explain what I mean. At Right Build Scale, we currently have over 45,000 subscribers. If a creator with 5,000 subscribers reaches out and says, hey, I would love to do a cross promo, I already know what's in it for them. Their work gets in front of my 45,000 subscribers. What I don't know is what's in it for me. And if you don't tell me, I'm going to pass every single time. Not because I'm not generous, but because I get these messages every week and I have to choose where I spend my time and energy. So here's what I would want you to do instead. When you reach out to a bigger creator, your message should have 3 things: a clear specific format you're proposing for the collaboration, a clear reason why you specifically are a good fit, and a clear sense of what makes this collaboration valuable for them, not just for you. Maybe you have a niche they don't reach. Maybe you have a specific expertise their audience has been asking about. Maybe you can do most of the work, so it costs them almost no time to actually say yes to the collaboration and still get value out of it. Whatever it is, you have to make it explicit because everyone is busy. And you need to keep the message short. You want to make sure that I can easily say yes to your first collaboration outreach message. A creator with a real audience is going to scan your message in a few seconds. If they have to dig to find what you are proposing, you've already lost. And this is exactly what we see inside our private membership called The Link, where creators, coaches, and consultants who are building on Substack come together to connect and collaborate. Members are constantly hosting Substack lives together. They are supporting each other's work and pairing up with people who serve a complementary audience. And the growth that comes from those collaborations compounds in a way that solo posting just never does. Collaborations are how you skip the line. It's your shortcut to getting in front of people who are interested in the work you do and haven't discovered you yet. Now, the 5th thing, and honestly the one that matters more than anything else on this list, is to build the business behind your publication from day one. Because here's the truth. A Substack publication on its own is not a business because you are too dependent on a single platform. It's the front door of a powerful business that you can build. If you treat your publication as the entire business, you risk hitting a ceiling very quickly and you risk dependency. But if you treat it as the entry point to a much bigger universe of offers, then the game changes. Now let me show you what this can look like. Your free content brings new readers into your world. Your paid subscription is the first door. It's the entry-level offer for people who want to go a little deeper with you. From there, you can lead readers into a low-ticket tier, a few digital products in a Gumroad store, a paid workshop, or a small mini course. And from there, you can lead them into a higher priced course or a group program. In the next step, you can lead them into a private coaching or a higher ticket consulting. From there, your publication can open doors to speaking gigs, book deals, partnerships, and opportunities that have nothing to do with a paid subscription. Your paid subscription tier doesn't have to be the final destination. It can simply be a door that opens every other door behind it. At Right Build Scale, our paid subscription is actually only a very small slice of our total revenue. The majority of our income comes from everything that happens after someone has subscribed to our publication. The publication is just the engine. The offers are the destination. And the moment you start thinking about your Substack this way, every single piece of content you publish starts pulling its weight, because every reader who lands on your page is someone you can serve at multiple levels over a long period of time. So even if you don't have your full ecosystem built out yet, I want you to start thinking about it. The more ideas you have, the more good ideas you will have. Now, what is the next level of value you can offer the reader who falls in love with your free content? That question is the difference between a publication that pays you just a little and a business that actually generates multiple 6 figures a year. And the last thing, almost like a bonus, is this: sound like a person not a content brand. In 2026, AI tools are flooding Substack with content that's technically fine and completely forgettable, just like any other platform. I will say that it's less worse on Substack than anywhere else right now, but you can see similar hooks, similar structures, similar inspirational closes. And in that environment, the creators who actually get remembered are the ones who sound unmistakably like themselves. Their obsessions show up, their opinions show up, their voice shows up in an original way. You don't have to be loud in order to stand out. You just have to be willing to be specific and edgy. Specific about what you believe in, about who you are for, and what you refuse to do that everyone else is doing. That's the thing that AI cannot replicate, and it's the thing that turns a casual reader into a long-term subscriber who eventually becomes a paying client. Alright, that's the roadmap I would follow if I had to grow a Substack from zero in 2026. The positioning, the homepage, the notes engine, the collaborations, the business, and the voice. All of this makes your publication grow. But knowing what to do is only half of the game, because there are a few mistakes that quietly stop 99% of creators from actually getting traction on Substack, and most people are really making them without even realizing. So if you want to be on the safe side, watch this video next, where I break down exactly how to make sure you are on the right track and don't waste any time. I'll see you there.